Hey there guys, what's up, what's going on? It is Movie Review Mike 18 here, back with my first movie review on this channel since my return to YouTube. That is right guys, I am back in full swing, and I am so excited to give you guys this movie review today. And yeah, it's no accident that this is my first review back on this channel. Yeah, this wasn't planned at all or anything. Holy shit. The wait is finally over. Guys, it brings me so much joy to tell you that I am going to be reviewing the 2018 Halloween film in this video. That's right. I am so pumped. And it is finally here. And I've finally seen it. Halloween 2018 takes place 40 years after the events of the first film that came out all the way back in 1978. Horror icon Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis is back in the role of Laurie Strode, and she is preparing for the fight of her life against Michael Myers. So apparently 40 years ago, back in 78, when Myers attacked all of those babysitters on that fateful Halloween night, he was shot by Loomis, but he was also captured that very same evening and taken back to Smith's Grove. He escapes from the sanitarium, and he is back to kill again and continue what he started in 1978. Now, Laurie Strode has become a completely different character since the events of the first film. She's developed an entire arsenal and a home filled with booby traps. She's so much more hardened and on edge now, waiting for the return of Michael Myers so she can finally put an end to what began all those years ago. So guys, Halloween is directed by David Gordon Green, and it is co-written by him and Danny McBride. Who the f*** ever thought those two were gonna work on this movie, am I right? So yes guys, just to clear everything up, just in case people are confused with the other Halloween films, yes, this film, Halloween 2018, is a direct sequel to the original Halloween. That film's sitting right up there. All of the other Halloween films do not matter in this timeline. None of them happened. It's just those two movies, and that's it. Ever since Jamie Lee Curtis posted this photo a little over a year ago on September 15th of 2017, and I looked at my Twitter feed and saw this photo, I absolutely lost my freaking shit. I have been waiting for this movie ever since she made that announcement. I immediately have been pumped to no end. This is by far the film that I have been looking forward to the most out of any other movie to come out this year, but also out of any other movie to come out over the last like 5 freaking years. Just in case you guys didn't already notice by the posters in the background, I am a die-hard fan of the Halloween franchise. I will never forget the first time I watched the original Halloween film. I had to be at least 9 or 10 years old. I know, I was really young the first time I watched this movie. So I've seen every film in this franchise to date. Yes, not all of the sequels are even that great. I'm aware of that. Years and years ago, when I was a child, still dressing up and going trick-or-treating, I dressed up as Michael Myers for Halloween at least 2 or 3 different Halloweens. That's right, 2 or 3 different years I was Michael Myers for Halloween. Even in my high school years, I would wear the mask on Halloween night. When I was old enough to drive a car, I would go out driving with the Michael Myers mask on Halloween night. You think I'm joking, you think this is all a big joke, you think that this is just for laughs. No. This is real. And just in case you guys were wondering where my ranking of every film in the Halloween franchise sits, not including this one, here you go. There you go. Yes, of course, the original is the best. Yeah, Halloween 2 is that good. I liked Halloween 3. Halloween 6 so low? What? Really? Over Resurrection? I have one answer for you guys. Cult of Thorn. Yeah. And yeah, the Rob Zombie movies suck ass. Boom. There you go. Recap done. So guys, in the end, I feel that Halloween 2018 is going to divide people pretty well. On one side of the spectrum, you are going to have your audience members who love this movie. They're going to cherish this movie. They're going to feel it's the best sequel to be released in the Halloween franchise. And then on your other side of the spectrum, you are going to have everybody who did not care for this movie. They're not going to care for the directions and the decisions that McBride and David Gordon Green decided to make. They're not going to like the scares. They're not going to like the new characters. They're going to have a bunch of flaws. People are mixed with this one, guys. The critics love it. Fans, eh. But me personally, yeah, I'm on the good side. That's right, guys. I had a blast with this new Halloween. Oh, man. Everything I've been waiting for. The wait has been paid off so well for me, guys. This is the rightful sequel we've all deserved, not only as fans of horror movies and fans of this franchise, but fans of movies in general. Halloween 2018 is a film that understands itself. It understands what it is. It understands its placement in the franchise. And I absolutely love, admire, and respect what David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, Jamie Lee Curtis, and all of the other filmmakers, cast and crew involved in this film decided to do with this movie. This is a film that understands the original Halloween film. This is a film that understands what made that movie work. This film knows when to and when not to correctly deliver fan service without ever making it feel shoehorned in. Every single callback or throwback or reference to any of the other Halloween films all feels like it has a place. Nothing ever detracts. It knows its audience and it respects its audience, most importantly. Something the other sequels and Rob Zombie's film never managed to do. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. Jamie Lee Curtis. This is the 5th Halloween film she's been in, and this is easily the best she's been since the original Halloween film. I loved what they did with Jamie Lee Curtis's character in this movie. I love her character's progression. I love how different she is from the first young woman we met back in 1978. She is so much more hardened. She's isolated. She's so much more on alert. This is a heavily traumatized woman who was incredibly affected by what Michael Myers tried to do to her. But she is intent on ending Michael Myers, which I love about her character. She knows he's coming back. She knows it's not over. She cannot get over this trauma. Another dynamic that I really enjoyed that they explored that I didn't actually expect them to go, it involves her relationship with her daughter, played by Judy Greer in the film, and her granddaughter, played by Andi Matichak. The relationship between the three of them is one of the most interesting and complex relationships I've seen in a movie in quite some time. I love that the events of the original Halloween have taken such a huge toll on Laurie's life that she has made it affect her relationship with her daughter and her granddaughter. And it really makes for some very entertaining writing and some very entertaining conflicts as well between these characters. Let's face it, guys. Laurie Strode is the Sarah Connor of horror movies. Props to you, Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm so glad you came back for this movie. You deserved so much better after what happened in Halloween Resurrection. The Busta Rhymes Halloween, let's just forget about it. Let's move on. Andi Matichak, who plays Laurie's granddaughter in this movie, Allison Strode. I really liked her performance in this movie. Whenever she was frightened, I genuinely felt her fear, and it all felt incredibly believable. I love the decision of the casting director and the casting department to cast somebody who is an unknown, just as Jamie Lee Curtis was cast in the first Halloween, around the same exact age as well. I also like a lot of the other teens who were in this movie, actually. They didn't feel annoying. They didn't feel dumb. They weren't assholes. They felt like real teenagers to me, and they had interesting relationships. For example, there was a very interesting relationship dynamic created between one of the babysitters in the film and one of the kids that she's babysitting. They have a very sweet moment together that I actually really admired and made me care about that character way more than I probably cared about any of the other characters in any of the last couple of sequels and remakes we've gotten. Alright guys, so let's talk about Michael Myers for a second, because this was the part of the movie I definitely was concerned with. How is Michael Myers going to be portrayed? So Nick Castle actually plays Michael Myers for about 1 or 2 scenes very briefly, but they did get a new actor to play Michael Myers for a good majority of his scenes, and this actor is James Jude Courtney, and I think he did a terrific job as Michael Myers. He nailed the movements, he nailed just the physique. Michael Myers felt threatening to me once again. Finally, the blocking, the staging, which goes hand in hand with a lot of the directorial decisions, which I'll get to. I loved everything. It just felt like I was watching Michael. He still has it in him. He still has some sick-ass kills in this movie, and nothing felt over the top or ridiculous with him whatsoever in this film. I loved what they did with sound in this movie as well. I loved how they added his breathing so many times throughout scenes. It just gives this feeling that you cannot escape this relentless evil monster of that Michael Myers is. John Carpenter returned to executive produce, work as a creative consultant, and also work on the score. And my goodness, does it deliver. It's classic Halloween. I'm not even going to spend that much time talking about it, guys. Of course, it's amazing. The big question on my mind, how is this movie going to feel? Is it going to feel like Halloween, or is it going to feel like just some cheap slasher flick with just no scares, no genuine tension, or any creepy, terrifying moments? But guys, I can confidently say that David Gordon Green knocked it out of the park. This is his first feature horror film, and I was genuinely impressed with what he managed to pull off. He manages to create several incredibly riveting sequences in this film. One involving a backyard sequence, and another involving a scene later on in the film. Not gonna spoil anything, but holy shit, I was holding my breath. All of the kills, the shots, the shot language, the movements of Michael Myers, the framing of where to put Michael Myers in the frame, all of that I felt was nailed so well, and it didn't just feel like it was similar in tone to what John Carpenter managed to pull off with the original Halloween, but it just felt like a creepy, atmospheric horror movie to me. It does have its own distinct voice, of course, while also heavily calling back and referencing a lot of other important key moments from the first Halloween film. But here's what makes all of that work. Every reference feels like it has a place in this movie. For example, there's a scene of Allison attending a class at her high school, and it's a direct callback to one of the scenes from the original Halloween film, but it was pulled off in a very tasteful, different way. There's a definite twist and a spin on how that scene is interpreted in this Halloween film. And it involves different characters, and it involves switching roles around, and I loved it. It was just brilliant. A lot of the framing choices and shots that David Gordon Green goes for in this movie are directly reminiscent of so much of the original Halloween film. There is one long tracking shot sequence, but they also just utilized the background, middle ground, and foreground of the frame in incredible ways. I love how when we have one character in the foreground of your shot, then you have Michael Myers hanging around in the background, maybe murdering somebody, maybe just walking or lurking around. It just feels so genuinely creepy, and that's not something that necessarily John Carpenter did in a lot of the scenes in his movie. Yes, in a few scenes he definitely did that. It feels like Gordon Green put much more of his own stamp on those scenes, and it just felt so terrifying to me. All in all, guys, this movie just feels like Halloween. It brings this style, the tone, and the atmosphere, the creepy atmosphere that John Carpenter's established so well in his first movie. I'm not gonna say the film is truly unique or different. It's not. Some guy in a mask kills a bunch of young teenagers. We've seen it a dozen times before. But what makes this film interesting are added subplots and the focusing of our characters from our first film, specifically Laurie Strode. Now, I know it seems like I've been just going nuts over this film, and it seems like I didn't have any issues at all. I do have a few issues of this movie. There's definitely a few choices that Danny McBride and David Gordon Green made in regards to the humor in the film. There are some scenes that give you a bit of comedic relief. It's not heavily sprinkled with that. There are some moments that worked for me, and there are some moments that aren't. I thought some of the comedy was a little stale. Some of it worked quite well and actually added a little bit of levity. My biggest issue with this film involves one scene and one character in particular, and I'm wondering if you guys felt the same way. So there is a doctor character in this movie. He has one scene in this film that, in hindsight, to me, feels like it just needs to get Michael from point A to point B. Other than that, I hated everything else about that scene. It stands out like a sore thumb. It completely took me out of the movie. It was a very poor writing decision. I do not know what the writers were thinking of going for that moment. I think they could have written that just sequence and the idea of that sequence so much better. This movie definitely feels a lot bigger and broader than the original Halloween. The original Halloween was very scaled down. It was an independent movie shot for $300,000. So they couldn't have a lot of extras, and they really couldn't have a lot of subplots. This movie has a lot of that, and my issues come into the movie where I actually really wanted a lot more time spent and dedicated with Laurie's character, because I found a lot of her scenes interesting, and maybe I wanted her to fight with Michael Myers once more time in the movie. But there's one sequence at a dance, and another sequence at a couple of houses, and I feel like the movie didn't feel as contained or as small as the original Halloween did to me, and I loved that simplistic, just easier feeling, and that is the one thing I feel that David Gordon Green didn't manage to capture. The original captured that so well, and it feels so in and of its own time, but it also feels so small, and that's what makes it so terrifying. It feels a little bit more claustrophobic, and I think that's what worked for me with the original Halloween. Sure, it's not better than the first Halloween. I'll even go as far as to say that I love Halloween 2 a little bit more than this one. But it is up there as one of the best sequels in the Halloween franchise, for sure. It really is, guys. It nails the characters, it nails the tone and the atmosphere, it nails the kills, it nails Michael Myers. Also has its own style. It knows what it's doing. It has its own focal points that I really admired. And it has its own meaning and purpose, especially in today's day and age. And that is a big positive I can give this movie. I am going to highly recommend it to die-hard fans of this franchise. I think most of you guys are going to love it. Some of you might not, but I think most of you will love the shit out of this movie. So the way this film ends, I would totally be down for sequels. I would love to see more from these guys. They seem to be knowing what they're doing with this character and with this world. Give me more Halloween films. Let's do it. I'm back in the spirit. I'm back on the Michael Myers train. I'm going to give Halloween 2018 a solid grade of a 4 out of 5 stars, or a grade of an A-. Go see this movie, guys. It's so amazing. Please go see it this weekend. By the time this video goes up, it's gonna be the next week, but still go see this movie, guys, okay? Alright, guys, leave me your thoughts, your comments down below on this new Halloween. What did you love about this movie? What did you hate about this movie? I can't wait to hear how you guys reacted to it as well. That has been my review of Halloween. I know this video is probably insanely long, and I know I said my videos were gonna be shorter coming back, but I couldn't help it. I had too much I had to say about this movie, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching, and stay tuned. I got a bunch of more movie reviews coming for you very soon. Bye, guys.